Welcome to the Marketing Revolution Podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution Podcast.
That's not fair.
And the Marketing Savage Facebook group. How dare you interrupt my intro with that shit?
I shall.
You know, here's what happens,
me.
guys. I'm going to tell you guys
So rude.
what happens every time we come over here to sit down and do a podcast. The wife will look at me and she'll say, like, right before we're getting ready to do the podcast, she'll say, "What are we going to talk about?" And I'll look at her and say, "Do we ever plan what we talk about?" And then she'll say, "Come on, let's plan what we talk about."
No, I was like, let's at least just have a topic.
And I'll say, "Do we ever plan what we talk about?" So I guess that's the topic tonight, is that we never plan what we're about ready to talk about.
That's
like,
all on you, though.
What you hear is straight up like off the cuff. Is straight up like just rap. We're up here rapping.
You actually can rap, believe it or not.
Yeah, I can. You're right.
You can, which is very surprising.
Because I grew up during that gangster shit.
Oh, I do want to say something, because when we were in Dallas at Apex, John, there was a gentleman. I think his name was that Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt.
Yeah. And he was talking about, how you need to treat your significant other.
And I took that as how she needs to be treating me.
Well, anyways, he bought himself a really nice
SVJ Aventador Lambo. So yeah, like the $500,000 one.
Yeah. And he went on saying how his wife didn't get mad or upset,
And she gonna get mad at me when I come home in the Red Dragon the first time.
Oh my God, here we go.
And then in the Corvette the second time.
So John, after he gets done talking about how you should treat your significant other, which was really good. He gave some really good advice.
Yeah.
But John is giving me these dirty looks and pointing at me, and then stands up. Okay,
tells everybody in the room.
And tells everybody in the room. He's like, "Man, my wife kicked me out of the house
for a good 2 hours and 45 minutes.
This and that." Because, okay, so here's the story. John came to me and he was not asking, but he was saying something how he wanted to get a different sports car.
Well, I was opening up her mind for the move.
Yes.
I was getting her mind primed for the move.
So I'm like, sure, yeah, that's awesome. When are we going to go and do this? And then what does he do? He comes home the next day and he pulls in the driveway with the red
Well, I made the move.
Corvette. But this is the thing. So he's like, "Yeah, Angela kicked me out, blah, 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 and all this and that." Trying to make me look like I was the bad person.
Most of you guys are shaking your head. She was the bad person.
No, I was not. Here's the thing. Number one, my feelings got hurt because I thought we were going to go and pick it out together. Exactly.
Even though I scored a killer deal on this thing.
But here's the thing, though. This is something that he never told anybody.
Oh, she's going to go on and tell you about her idea thing.
Yeah, was that a year later or less than a year or something like that?
I think I drove the red one for a year or something.
Well, I said, "Hey, honey," I'm like, "why don't you just go and trade this in and get something that's got more of the bells and whistles?"
And yeah, and I was going to go in there, and it's so funny, I got one the next day, and she was like...
And I wasn't mad about it at all.
Yeah, because it was her idea. But but the funniest part was I had maintenance. The very first maintenance that was to be done on my Corvette was on Saturday, was the red Stingray. And so I drive it up there, and I go to the maintenance department, and they looked at me and said, "Well, that must be a mistake because the Corvette team isn't here on Saturdays. They're only here Monday through Friday."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, shit. Okay, well, let me go into she told me to go buy one, whatever one that I
was
wanted.
like, yeah, I'm like,
So let's go into the showroom and check it out, see what they got. And I walked in there, and my whole intention was to buy a Z06, because there's some bad motherfuckers. And I walked in there, and they had a black convertible Z06 with chrome rims, and I wasn't too hip on it. And then they had a yellow one, and I'm not driving a fucking yellow car. I mean, no offense for you guys that want to drive a fucking yellow car, but I ain't driving around in no fucking yellow car looking like somebody's gonna put fucking Tweety Bird on the back of it or some shit. Sorry. Again, if you guys like yellow cars, more power to you. Mm-hmm. I drive a gold car, a shiny gold car, but not a yellow car. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And then it just happened that weekend they just rolled out the brand new Grand Sports, and the Grand Sports have the stance of the Z06, but they didn't have all the juice in the engine. Mm-hmm. And I also knew that the Z06s were overheating because of the supercharger in them was having issues. So I was a little leery about that too. And when I went in there, they had a brand new Grand Sport sitting there, and it was solid white, red interior, black rims, dope as fuck. And that's the one I ended up buying that day.
Yeah. So John tried to make me look like the bad guy. And then after that whole spiel was done, and then you went off and started talking to like some other people, I was talking to a group of people, and I was just like, John just really likes to make me look like the bad person here.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they start laughing. They're like, why? What happened? I was like, he didn't even tell the whole story. I was just like, how dare him?
One time, though, before the Corvette thing and all that, and before my first Camaro, so before I had Corvettes, I had a Super Sport black convertible Camaro. But while I was Camaro shopping, I came home in this Camaro that I call the Red Dragon.
Yeah.
And it was like I forget even which model it was, but it was like a Z1, and this thing was a fucking beast.
I thought you bought the thing. That's why I got mad.
Yeah, so I just drove it on a test drive and drove it home.
But then we had like tattoo appointments, and I'm like, I do not want to be late.
So she came out madder than a tornado in a trailer park. Madder than a one-legged stripper trying to do a table hop.
Oh, my goodness.
These guys probably know the Larry the Cable Guy skit. Hey, one time Jeremy Carroll.
Yeah.
They just had a kid recently, by the way. And so anyhow, we've had Jeremy on some of our other podcasts, stuff like that. And he told me that he went to the strip club.
Oh, dear God.
He went into this strip club, and I forget where it was. It was like, I think it was in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And it was in like this little town and little,
oh my God,
dirty white trash town.
We should like say something to Amy and Dan Ward.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might know.
He said that the stripper, when he walked in, I was just talking about a one-legged stripper doing a table hop, madder than a one-legged stripper trying to do a table hop. He said that there was a stripper there that didn't have no legs at all. And that right in the door when they walked in.
Did she have nubs?
Well, she had a pull-up bar that she was swinging around on.
But how did she walk around?
Well, if you see people with no legs, they have enough like legs to walk around.
Okay.
They're just on the ground,
Yeah.
But a stripper, like he said, and she was right there at the front door greeting everybody, spinning around on a chin-up bar.
Oh, I swear.
Well, I mean,
don't know about
hey,
you sometimes.
just because you don't have no legs don't mean you ain't got boobies.
Oh my God. You're horrible. You were so horrible.
I should have asked Jeremy if he got a lap dance from her.
That's wrong.
Oh, now you guys are seeing a little glimpse of our relationship.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, the shit we talk about.
Oh, my.
But yeah, going back to Kurt, let's go reel it all back in. We went down a little rabbit hole there.
You did.
I'm just saying. Well, I said one-legged, then it reminded me of that story, and then I went there.
Yeah.
So let's reel it back in, and I'll talk a little bit about something because Kurt's the man. I mean, Kurt's I'll probably have him on the podcast here sometime. Actually, I got his lead salesman Tony coming on the podcast at the end of this month, and the dude's built like a Greek god, bodybuilder,
ginormous,
just insanely massive dude. And he's the leader of their sales team, and they own a roofing company called Linear Roofing. And I
I think Kurt is in like 10 or 11 states, so it's not a small company. It's a big company. In fact, I think he's got 2 or 3 of his lead guys in Apex Executive with us. And he's the leader of the crew, and a humble leader, man, just a humble leader.
Yeah.
But he was just giving some tips because him and his wife have a really good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest takeaways I got from him is that he's a busy dude, and he would tell his wife that he would come home as soon as he can.
Yeah.
Every day he would come home as soon as he can. How you like that fucking answer? I tried to pull that shit on her the other day. And she's like, she's like, no, I'm going to need a time. And I'm like,
you should be so glad I love you.
I look at her and I'm like, as soon as I can.
She's trying to make me look like the bad person.
So anyhow, that just makes Kurt even the more of the man, because he can just tell his old lady, like, so when you come home, Kurt,
my God,
he looks at her and says, as soon as I can. That is, but anyhow, yeah. So, but what I really liked about that was number one. And then I looked at her like, I'm being mistreated over here.
Hey, John, you're so full of shit.
So I was thinking,
so fucking full of
the first
shit.
thing I was thinking, I was like, well, this is some great advice for her.
Oh my God, here we go.
Right, that Kurt
go
was
ahead.
given.
Go on your little thing. Go on.
So I'm thinking, this is
say
some
what you need to say.
advice for her. So, and then the second thing that I really took away that was amazing, Kurt, which is some great advice for me. All right, I'm being fair, very fair here.
You're being fair.
Very fair. I'm being fair. So the great advice for me and what I took home was really great. He's like, it's not about the amount of time you spend with them, but it's about the quality of time.
Yes.
It's about spending quality moments.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are sitting here talking to a guy's multimillionaire, and he's telling everybody in the room that he saves up during the year to pay for his vacations.
Yeah.
Just so that way, and I'm sure he could probably go anywhere he wants now, but it's something that he did in the past when they were LA Fitness exec and he was building his other company. And, when he was still working as an LA Fitness executive.
It's basically about the moments.
Even whenever he was going out and selling roofs in the evening with him and his wife. So that's how they built the company. And, he would, number one, he would say when he went on vacation, he would always prepay the whole vacation. Mm-hmm. So he would save up through the year. And instead of like a lot of people take a bunch of random vacations, he would take like one crazy off the hook vacation. Yeah. And he would dedicate that time and make sure that time was very, very quality. And one of the things that he liked about prepaying the vacation is that, a lot of people go on vacation, they come home, they ain't got no fucking money or something like that.
Yeah.
So there wasn't no stress on the vacation. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know if I can eat the chicken or the steak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is a cool thing. It's cool hearing like a dude who's doing what he's done and what he's doing and what he's done say that. And then and just about the whole thing, it's about the quality of time that you spend with your woman.
Yeah, and those moments.
And
making them moments
special and
extra
better,
special.
right?
Yeah.
So I like that. Remember that one Hodge Twins video we just watched recently where they gave somebody advice on relationship? I loved what the Hodge Twins said. I thought that was some of the best relationship. If you guys don't know who the Hodge Twins are, get on YouTube and look at them. And if you get a chance.
This was like a one from like way back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the Hodge Twins used to do this relationship advice show. It's kind of where we got our idea of this show.
Yeah.
And the Hodge Twins are 2 dudes that are hilarious, man. Mm-hmm. They they're 2 twins. And they always get on camera, and one of them's always sitting in front, and the other one's sitting kind of in back, staggered from each other. And then they fight for the camera as they're talking, and one person comes up, and they got all these quirky little things that they do when they're on camera, and it's just hilarious. But they just have a very unique way of looking at things, like in a good way. I mean, they're so smart. The two of these guys are smart, and they had this guy that they did this relationship.
What was that question?
It was a relationship advice show that they did for a while. And if you Google Hodge Twins relationship advice YouTube, you'll see some of their shows, and they're all hilarious.
Okay, but what was the question?
Well, the question with the guy says, so he's in this relationship with this girl. and things are going really, really well, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're having, amazing time together. I mean, things are good, like good, you know, and then they get to the point where he tells the problem, right?
What was it?
The problem is that he was really her first love or her first boyfriend.
Wait a minute, but that was like the
And her
first time she got it on.
And her first sexual encounter, right? So as soon as he drops that onto the Hodge, as soon as they get to sexual encounter, first time he boinked her. The first time they boinked.
Oh my God, that sounds like so like old manish.
So as soon as the Hodge twins got to that
Boinked.
point, as soon as the Hodge twins got to that point, they're like, "Oh man, you might as well hang this one up, bro." And they're like, "The curiosity's gonna get her, man," you know. And but in that show, they said, if the little sliver of a chance you have for keeping her, right? The tiniest little sliver of a chance you have keeping her, is that all women have this shit that they want you to do, right? Like they all have their own unique things that they want you to do in a certain way.
Yes, that's true.
And every single woman is different, Mm-hmm. So like one woman's not going to be the same as the other woman, but they have these things that they want you to do.
Hey, what are my things that I want you to do?
I probably don't do them all, to be honest with you. But let me tell the story first, and then we'll go back to that, okay? Let me finish this thing, right?
All right, Big Daddy.
And what he was giving this guy advice. He goes, how it happens, how, let's just say your woman comes home and every day she wants you to listen to her after she comes home from work.
Yeah.
And she wants to tell you all these things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how she blows off steam, whatever. And you got to sit there and fucking listen to that shit. And act like you care and pay attention and all that kind of stuff, because you do. I'm getting a dirty look over here. But here's what I'm saying. If you get a dude who doesn't do that, the woman comes home and she's venting and her boyfriend or husband or whatever is just not paying any attention. Well, that's how another dude slides in there.
That's true.
He comes in, he goes, "Oh, well, I listen to you." He may not want to, right? But, she's just like, well, he's doing something. He's fulfilling a need that I want, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, right? So that's one of the things is how it happens usually. I mean, usually that's how another dude slips into a situation with your old lady is because you're not fulfilling something that she wants, and then this other guy comes in and...
It's lack of communication.
Right. And this other guy could be totally full of shit. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter because you're not fulfilling something, and then he appears to be the dream fucking guy that will.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but anyhow, that's what they just told the kid. They said, you need to find all this shit that she needs you to do, and you need to do it, man. You know what I mean? That's the only way you're going to stay in the game on this one.
So what do you think when it comes to me?
You want me to listen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say you've turned into a good listener. You've always, I'm not going to, to be completely honest, you do love to talk. You can talk and talk.
Well, they are listening to my podcast. I never shut the fuck up, do I?
No, but you're like a very good social butterfly. You can walk into a room and they can be all complete strangers and you're going to make friends with all of them.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them. Me, on the other hand, I'm more like if I walked into a room, that was just like when we first started going to Apex. I was so nervous and stuff like that.
Yeah, different crowd, people she didn't know.
Yeah.
Things like that. Now we call them family,
Yeah. So I'm always the type that I walk in, I'm very reserved and don't really say much. And I have to, kind of evaluate what, everything that's going on. Even though I will say that when we were down in Apex, a gentleman, Alvin, this has never happened to me besides like John saying this, because usually people don't come up and say hi or anything like that. They think that I'm more kind of like...
She got that resting bitch face thing.
Yeah, but he I think somebody must have said something and I smiled and he looked at me and he was like, your smile lights up the room. And I'm like, that has never happened to me before. Yeah. Like somebody out of the blue, a stranger actually saying that. So that was very...
I got to get Alvin Hope Johnson. I got to get him on the podcast too. He's the king of multifamily units. I mean, the king. Him and Dan Cosentino. There's two of them in there. But Alvin is got this thing going on, and we're like, he's building so many multi-units right now that he's using some company where they are sending these homes to him where you would literally have to see his demonstration. But
you'd have to listen, you know.
Yeah, you'd have to see his demonstration. I can't go into all of it, but let's just say he found this fucking gem of these homes that can be custom built, Class A homes, and they're built with already completely insulated with polypropylene, like 7-inch walls, 18-inch blown ceilings, and when they put them together, they save a ton on energy cost. And he can build them for like $130 per square foot. That's a little bit expensive, but that's with like grade A finishes. But he's got a way that he can make his money back on the electricity and all that stuff because it's going to be so cheap. Like he's talking about your average electricity bill, maybe like, or average heat bill, maybe like, $100 a month. And he's talking about it going down to 10 with this place.
That's crazy.
And I think they're building them up north, like maybe in Minnesota or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And he's building so many of these that they're literally building a factory for him in Texas. So they're white labeling a whole factory. Like a company is actually taking all their products and building a factory just for Alvin in Texas. And it's also cooling too. The house just stays cool as can be. Each room's like independently cooled. Incredible stuff. But yeah, Alvin's is a good guy. And yeah, he walked up and
yeah. I thought that was really nice because that normally does not happen to me. I mean, John, of course, because you were macking on me when you met me and stuff like that.
Of course. I always be macking.
Don't you remember? I should bring this up because I don't think we've ever talked about it, and I've been wanting to talk about it. So John always tells people that, yeah, if I would have met Angela in high school, I would have gotten her, and I'm just like, no, you wouldn't have because because you were a man whore.
Up until I met you, you could have saved me back then.
And then I was like, wait a minute, you would have been considered a womanizer. Remember how you
Oh my God. I Googled the word womanizer and I'm like, motherfucker, they put a word for a horny dude. They like basically made a word for a horny dude.
You're that. I was like, because Britney Spears sings a song, and it's called Womanizer. And I'm like, that was so
They really put a logical word for a horny guy out there. Like,
yeah, that's what.
I mean, they give everything like a condition or something. I thought like, I never really looked up the word womanizer. So I thought it was like a woman beater or something like that. You know what I mean? I imagined it being like some dude that like, don't go anywhere, woman, like yelling at women and telling them all these things. Then I find out it's just some dude that goes and fucks a bunch of women. And I'm like, that's a womanizer?
I mean,
like, man, you guys really...
I mean, in all honesty, I think...
A man whore is a womanizer.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I think like the majority of men are that way.
Well, yeah, we're all womanizers.
Well, I mean, until like they meet the one. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think that's just like, that's just normal. Well, I think on the other hand, I think women we're not really like.
Well, recently we had a congressman who said "amen" and "a woman" after that. So we might have to have a manonizer as well, right? Because we got some hoe bag women out there manonizing.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't.
You damn manonizer.
What's that they always say? You can't turn a what? They can't say what is it? You can't turn a what into a housewife?
You can't turn a hoe into a housewife?
Yeah, that's really true.
I don't know. COVID changed that.
Oh, did you see that meme?
Because the women can't leave the house. No bars open late at night.
I was never like that though. I was always
you couldn't turn a hoe into a housewife. Then came COVID.
I was a good girl, and then John got a hold of me. Everybody referred to John as the big bad wolf, and then I was like,
her whole family thought I was the big bad wolf. And me, I'm not giving a fuck. I remember getting drunk at birthday parties and stuff like that with them when I was younger.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny though. As soon as I started making a little money, they all got cool with me.
I know, right?
Like, I remember that to this day when once we started like driving nicer cars and shit like that, like next thing you know, your uncles are peace signing me from their car, as we're driving away and shit. And I'm
That
like,
would be on my mom's side.
Yeah,
on
I'm
my
like-
dad's side, that's a different story.
yeah, I'm just
They're
like,
a bunch
are
of
these
kind of-
people all of a sudden cool with me now? Because they, and then I remember going out to one of her uncle's house who definitely, I think they thought I was definitely the trouble at the beginning.
Was that my Uncle Joe?
Your Uncle Joe and them. And then all of a sudden I show up at their house one Thanksgiving with probably about $30,000 in guns with me.
Oh, that's right.
And I just pull out. I had my Desert Eagle. I had my Smith & Wesson 500. I had just a slew of handguns, and we go out there blasting them things off. And ever since then, we've been cool. Because they're all some good old boys. So you show up there with a bunch of guns like that, they're like, "Holy shit, man! Let's go out and let's go shooting." So we're out in the middle of the country, and he lives in a pretty cool house, and it's in the back of a down a really tiny strip road, lots of woods. It's just it's outside of Cincinnati, but it's far outside of Cincinnati.
yeah, it's way out in the
it's
country.
maybe like a 30 to 40 minute drive away from even Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're driving forever whenever you go there. But we're out there blasting off at nighttime because they're way up on a hill, and they've got it set up to where you can shoot downwards into an area where it's just going to go right into dirt. And we're up there blasting off the Smith & Wesson 500. We're out there blasting off the Desert Eagle, and it's nighttime, and you can see flames shooting out of these motherfuckers. Like,
that's crazy.
them guns were shooting, like, they would look like flamethrowers at nighttime.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. That was the only time I had a gun hurt my hand is a Smith & Wesson 500.
Yeah.
It's the biggest handgun that there is. And it's a fucking revolver. So literally there's no spring. There's nothing.
No,
It's just solid steel with a little bit of a rubber coating around it. And it's just shellacking your hand every time you shoot it.
Yeah.
And it got to the point to where I couldn't shoot it anymore. But the weirdest thing was because the Desert Eagle, it's got spring. The Desert Eagle's not going to hit your hand as bad. I mean, it's going to have some it's going to have some kick, but nothing like the Smith & Wesson 500. But I could still put the Smith & Wesson 500 down and start cracking off the Desert Eagle. Couldn't even feel it. As soon as I picked up the Smith & Wesson 500 and tried shooting it again, it's like it got a deep part of my bone or something like that in my hand. Well, I mean, we were shooting it all day. But here's the thing as well, man. Like, them bullets for that thing are like $20 a piece or something crazy like that.
Damn.
It may be less, I don't know, but I think now they've even went up.
Let me ask you this question. On my dad's side, we went to, so this was my great Uncle Joe. He has passed away. I think he'll probably be gone for a couple years now. But we were celebrating his
About time that dude kicked the bucket.
We were celebrating his 98th birthday, and this my great uncle, he was in World War II, and here we're celebrating his birthday, and I mean, he does have a right to be grumpy, but
He told me that he hated my tattoos. And that he hated her tattoos too.
no, he didn't say he hated mine.
When you weren't there, he did. He said he hated all of our tattoos. And here's the fucked up thing. Like it's okay if somebody says that once, you just laugh it off like an old dude. But he's just sitting there, and about every couple minutes, he'd
How
look
did you
at me.
feel?
He'd look at me. I just felt
Because
like I
wasn't
was
he
like,
looking at you with disgust?
well,
In a way?
probably, yeah. Yeah, he was. He was looking at me with disgust and telling me he hated my tattoos. And, I finally had to get away from him. I was just like, I'm not going to say anything mean to him. It's his birthday. Last time I ever seen him.
Yeah.
And,
But how did that make you feel awkward?
well, I mean, yeah, because there's other family members sitting around, and, like, all of them are looking at him in disbelief.
Oh, that he's saying this shit
Well,
to you?
yeah, and there's Chris, who's, a black guy sitting beside me. I was waiting for what he's about ready to say to him. And Chris is looking at me like he's next. And we're looking at each other
They were
like,
we gotta get up out of here.
yeah, me and him look at each other. We're like, hey, homie, we're in this together, right?
So there was other family members that actually heard that? Like, besides...
Yeah.
Really?
Me and Chris, me, the tattooed guy and the black guy had to get out of there. because we didn't know. I mean, he's a World War II veteran from back then. We're like, we gotta get the fuck away from him.
There's no filter
But
whatsoever.
I noticed like Chris was looking at me and we're looking at each other like, hey man, yeah. So
Yeah, they're
technically, if you probably counted every tattoo I had on my body, I probably am half black because they're all black tattoos.
That was an interesting time.
Yeah.
I think you kind of felt kind of like squeamish in a way when you were sitting by him and he was saying that shit.
Yeah, that was weird. That was really weird. Because, back before I had tattoos, he was always cool to me. So it was like, wow, man, you just like totally went from being cool to me and like real friendly, and we would talk about stuff, and I always enjoyed talking about.
You had conversations with him?
Yeah, we would go to his house like back, at least one time we went to his house back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally talked you out of eating his fucking cookies.
Well, okay, so I'll give you a little story. So my grandma and my great Uncle Joe, they came over on a boat with their family from Italy. And they lived in New York and then they migrated down to Ohio. Actually, their parents ended up passing away like shortly after they got to America, and my great Uncle Joe actually went and lived in an orphanage, and then my grandma went and lived with another family member. But my grandma was just like this cute little old Italian lady, very loud, very loving, very, very caring. And every year, the holidays was her favorite time. She like massively Christmas cooked cookies, like oodles and oodles and oodles of cookies, like any type of cookie that you can imagine that woman made. And so when she passed away, my great Uncle Joe took on the tradition of making the cookies, and he would give everybody a big basket full of cookies. Well, the older that he got, things just
I was looking like she grabbed the bag of cookies whenever we came from his place one time, and I'm like, you're not gonna eat them things, are you? She's like, yeah, Uncle Joe's cookies, and I'm like, you didn't see fucking toenails and shit on his damn kitchen table?
No, John, that was not like that.
Oh, and then
I think
didn't we find out that he after he passed away? Didn't we find out that he had a hooker?
No, he did not. Okay, that is not true, John. You're like not telling the story. The story is, okay, so my great Uncle Joe was dating a gal that was from around the Atlanta, Georgia area, and she was a lot younger. Well, when my grandma found out about this, which was his sister, she raised some hell. And what had happened is my great Uncle Joe stopped seeing her. But I think like he was really in love with this woman. And unfortunately, my grandma did not feel that it was doable because she was much younger. So I think that she felt that this gal was
that's some bullshit,
taking advantage of my great Uncle Joe, but I don't think that that's how it was. Because my grandma, like, she was an awesome woman, but she was a very strict woman, and it was like if you did not follow
maybe that's why he was so angry there at the end.
Probably, it might have.
I mean, he's probably thinking of
that might have been
young
the love
piece of ass he could have been having.
John, but I'm just saying that might have been like the love of his life, because in all honesty, he's never been married. He doesn't have any kids. He never had any kids.
But I just wonder how younger she was, because there's a difference between the love of your life and then a girl that's.
It was not a hooker.
A sugar daddy. He could have been a sugar daddy.
I think he was very smitten over this. And
he was taking her shopping and doing things like that. Probably.
Maybe he enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was.
So they had a relationship there, a trade.
They had something going on, but I don't know how old he was and how much younger she was. I don't know. I don't know about that. All I know is that, he was very smitten over this woman.
Well, he should have kept going after it. I mean, he died with a lot of money, and he didn't really even have like a. He didn't. He saved all his money.
Yeah, and then what he did was when he passed away, he gave it to his,
He just saved all that money to pass away and give it to everybody.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think it was, in a way, it was his way of taking care of my
I
grandma's kids.
wonder how much money he would have had if he would have continued with that chick.
I don't know, but like those
She
two,
probably would have got her chunk of it.
But see, my great uncle Joe, he lived across the street from my grandma, and they both lived through the Depression and stuff like that. So I mean, can you imagine like the milestones that they saw in their lifetime?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess it explains why he ended up being a grumpy old man. You know, listen,
Because he had a bunch of money he never spent, and then he had a chick that he couldn't.
because my grandma like totally despised him.
Well, shit. Like, why he didn't have to tell your grandma?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he did see her on the side, you know, like on the DL, maybe.
He probably didn't even know what the DL meant.
But you know what
I think
I'm
back
saying.
then they called that like a secret.
Well, I remember when I was younger, though, they would always say, my dad would be like, oh, where's Great Uncle Joe? And they'd be like, oh, Great Uncle Joe went on one of his trips.
There we go. Great Uncle Joe didn't give up on that.
So, no, but I think it was going on even when I was like a young kid.
Man, but he couldn't find a piece of ass near him? Come on, Uncle Joe. Driving to Atlanta for a piece of ass?
I don't know. Maybe she was just, you know.
I bet he was
special.
I bet he was harder than a roll of quarters on the way down there.
He used to drive down there. I remember he used to go to Florida too. I don't know why. I know that they said that he had friends that lived in Florida too. So I don't know what.
Had some friends in Florida too.
Maybe that was like when he came back and he was because they lived in Reading, Ohio, which was.
I thought there was something.
Cincinnati.
I thought there was something said about a hooker at one time. I don't.
Was not a
I don't
hooker.
see how I just pulled that out of.
I don't know. Sometimes I think that you just don't hear the right.
Maybe like as you told me that, I just formed in my mind that Uncle Joe had a hooker.
Well, I think what it was like the whole sugar daddy thing, you know.
Yeah, he had the little sugar daddy thing. Really, it was a form of trade.
Well, I guess. I mean, obviously they both enjoyed each other's time together.
Yeah, she must have been a good one.
But I thought maybe
That's why you had to drive to Atlanta.
I feel like it was something. It was a little bit more. It was like, you know, like when he came back to Ohio and he was living across the street from my grandma, you know, it was like, let's be on our best behavior and this and that. And then he would take trips and be gone for, you know, a few weeks. He would always drive. He'd never fly. And he would always.
That's the way all the old school people did it.
He would just take trips and be gone for a few weeks.
That's what I'm going to have to do.
Back.
They start demanding this COVID shot. I'm driving everywhere.
Well, they even said, I think I read an article that even said that, like, even if you did get the vaccine, it still wasn't doable, that you would still have to take a test and show up negative before. I don't know. Hopefully all this shit just goes away.
Yeah, they said if you get the vaccine, you still got to wear the mask and everything.
Oh, dear Lord. One day it'll all be done and over with.
Maybe we should just get back to talking about Uncle Joe's hooker.
Maybe we should. It's more refreshing, isn't it?
Hey, who knows? I'll tell you right now, it's only Saturday right now. We still got a few days for the inauguration. I heard Donald Trump's gearing up the army getting ready to swoop the Capitol.
We are not.
He's going to come out in the front of that White House right there with a bold eagle, on his shoulder, riding a lion.
Riding a lion?
That's what I heard.
He's right. He's coming in with a bald eagle on his shoulder, and he's
riding a lion.
Riding a lion.
You're damn right.
Oh my goodness.
Trump's holding all cards right now. Just wait until the last minute to open up the sealed indictments. If that shit actually did play out like everybody said, I would fucking I'd literally be sitting in front of my fucking TV like with popcorn falling out of my mouth. I'd be like, holy shit, it happened. But there's people that are basing their fucking whole life on that shit.
I know.
You know, I'll be happy once this damn inauguration thing is over with, man. 'Cause, I need to see what the fuck's gonna go down. It's like we're living in a soap opera right now.
How would you what soap opera would you compare it to?
Passions. That fucked up soap opera where there was like witches and goblins and all kinds of crazy shit.
I remember that soap opera.
Yeah, she used to watch the soap opera Passions.
So did you.
Yeah, because it was honestly the craziest soap opera. There was literally like full on witches.
But we didn't watch the soap opera together. Like when me and you started seeing each other, you told me how you used to watch soap operas, and I was just like, "Oh, what was your favorite one?" And you brought up Passions, and I was like, "Oh, that's."
I never really watched
Days
them
of Our
that
Life."
much, but
oh my god,
you know,
John,
a soap opera though. I've talked about this. It'll
don't
teach
believe
you.
him.
Listen, soap operas will teach you a lot about marketing.
Oh,
Yeah. You ever heard of a soap opera sequence? That's a marketing term.
yeah, like that. The hook, how they get you hooked in.
Yeah, and they always leave you hanging and hook you onto
Yeah.
the next one and hook you onto the next one and onto the next one and onto
Yeah.
the next one. In an ideal world where you really strategically plan that shit, that's how all your marketing should be. It's called, and some of you guys have probably seen me write about it. I call it opening and closing loops, and how you should never really close a loop unless you open another one. But it's fucking hard, man. Like you can do some of that for a while, but eventually you're gonna slip up and close a loop without opening another one.
Yeah. Oh, you got your hat on backwards.
I do.
Mm-hmm. You'd be
It's-
looking good
It's
right
literally, you guys got to realize we're over here at the shop right now. It's Saturday night at 6:24 p.m.
now. Yep.
6:24 p.m.
And we'll probably get something to eat, go home and watch a movie, and John's going to fall asleep on the couch.
I was up at 4 a.m. today, so
Yeah, but then you took a nap. You and Odin took a nap on the couch in the
a
morning.
little power nap ain't gonna hurt anything.
You were trying to deny it. And I'm like, you're down there snoring.
Yeah. So anyhow, I think that's a pretty good podcast.
I think so too.
We're about 40 minutes into it, so we might as well sign off this thing.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys got some solid relationship advice on this, right? Don't let your sister cause you to stop banging your hooker,
Your sister?
or else you'll end up being a grumpy old dude one day.
Oh, we're talking about my great uncle Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
So maybe that should be the title of the podcast. Don't let your sister stop you from banging the
Maybe next time I can elaborate into, some more stuff about that.
Let's
my
think about
grandma.
that. The podcast. Here's the thing, guys. I never title the podcast till the show's over, especially
Yeah.
on these ones. And don't let your sister stop you from banging your hooker.
There you go.
The podcast title.
People are
Woo!
probably gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?"
I know.
Oh,
I love
let
it.
me listen.
That's
to
what
it.
I love when the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
Is that when you're scrolling, because I got some pretty solid marketing titles in there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're gonna get something fucked up like parenting with Grand Theft Auto and smoking crack pipes.
Let me elaborate a little bit on that, because I know you tell everybody about how we raised Jonathan. He played Grand Theft Auto for like years. But here's the thing, though. Something that y'all don't know is when Jonathan was like 3 months old, okay, the way that I was able to get this child to sleep, I could have him on like a 3-hour nap, is I would put him in a swing and it would rock back and forth. And I would put the album American Beauty by Grateful Dead, and I'd hit that on play and stick that thing on repeat, excuse me. And that kid would sleep for hours and hours and hours. So I feel that music somehow got, and you know what I'm saying, like into his head. And I think that's one of the reasons why he never went out and caused a bunch of ruckus as well.
And then I also taught him how to, like when we were wrestling, I taught him how to, like, instead of just regular wrestling you would with your kids, I taught him how to Muay Thai fight, where he was like sending knees to your face. And I would always block him and stuff like that, and elbows and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then one day he wrestles her dad. Her dad comes over and her dad's
I
like,
love this story.
her dad's like,
It's one of my favorites.
yeah, I'm going to go in and wrestle John. And she like looked at her dad and said, Dad, be careful,
Yeah.
right? When you wrestle John, because
Yeah.
John wrestles him.
Yeah.
So he's wrestling little John, but Big John wrestles him, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've been teaching him some shit, and within 30 seconds, John done sent a knee to her dad's nose.
Well,
and bloodied it.
my dad gets down on the ground like he's getting ready to wrestle.
John grabs him by the
his
back of his
grandpa.
head and sends a knee to his face.
Yeah. And then my dad has a bloody nose. And then my dad is like demanding an apology. And I'm like, Jonathan, just say you're sorry. And Jonathan's like, no, because I didn't do anything wrong.
He was supposed to block it. So there you go. All right, everybody. So anyhow, appreciate you coming along on this Marketing Revolution podcast. Get your asses over and give us a review
Come
on our iTunes.
Yes. Write us a review.
because you will be on Winners Wednesday.
And you never know what you'll get.
Yeah, we're giving away all kinds of cool shit each and every week.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know what you're going to get on Winners Wednesday.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you. And as usual, I'll see you on the next one.
And remember, don't you be turning that off yet. It's all about the motherfucking hustle.